Very early on, my father took me to a quaint old place called Concord, Old North Bridge. I was about 5 years old, and the first verses I ever learned there was Ralph Waldo Emerson's Concord hymn. By the rude bridge that arched the flood, their flags to April's breeze unfurled. Here once the embattled farmer stood, and fired the shot heard round the world. And I asked, why was that shot heard round the world? Because Emerson was speaking metaphorically. He didn't suggest that after we won the Revolutionary War, we picked up arms fighting against the Russian Romanovs, the Ottoman Turks, or the Bourbons in France. But there are four revolutionary principles established in the Constitution, established in the Declaration of Independence that we have lost sight of today. One, we are all born with unalienable rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Now, what does that mean? Our rights don't depend upon any king. They're not the sufferance of any government. They're there no matter what the president says, the vice president says, or otherwise. And just talk about limitations on the executive are wrong. This idea of unalienable rights are enshrined in the constitutional preamble, we the people of the United States. The second revolutionary idea in the Declaration of Independence is the idea that all government derives its just powers from the consent of the governed. What that means is transparency in government, because you can't hold a government accountable if you don't know what it is doing, if there is secrecy there, if they instruct members of their administration not to even appear at Congress, not even making a cameo appearance, the likes of Harriet Miers or Karl Rove. Now, the third fundamental revolutionary idea in the Declaration was that to secure the rights of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, governments are established. That is, they are not established to create empires. They're not established to vindicate candidates' ideas of greatness and leaving their footprints in the sand of time by traipsing abroad to build empires. Its purpose is to secure these rights. The fourth revolutionary idea is that when a government evinces an unmistakable design to reduce a people to tyranny, to vassalage, you have a right, a right and a duty to overthrow that government and to secure a different government that's more protective of your rights. And I underscore duty because the Founding Fathers recognized that a passive people, an inert people, was the greatest danger to freedom. That's what we're witnessing today. I'd like to mention briefly, based upon what Adam said, why is it that we're in Iraq? It's because the Congress of the United States unconstitutionally delegated its exclusive, non-delegable power to decide on war or peace to the President of the United States. Not only was that unconstitutional, after all, the Supreme Court says that even the line item veto can't be delegated by Congress to the President. It was based upon clear and manifest deceit. And let me give you one example. I know the former House Majority Leader, Dick Armey. Now, Dick has said, in an uncontradicted fashion, that when he was initially opposed to the war resolution as House Majority Leader, and he was the blockage to the passage of that law, Dick Cheney approached him in secrecy and said, Dick, I have two pieces of very secret information for you that will change your mind. One, Saddam has miniaturized his nuclear weapons. Two, Saddam has joined at the hip with Al-Qaeda. Three, to add to those two, Al-Qaeda has agreed to be the delivery vehicle of those miniaturized nuclear weapons. Now these, of course, were blatant falls to its deceit. But Majority Leader Armey changed his mind, gave protective shield to the Democrats, that then authorized the Iraqi war resolution, and then came the war and the disaster, the quagmire that we're in now. We know we have inflicted on ourselves in Iraq the equivalent of 1.5 9/11s in order to make Iran stronger. Something that Ahmadinejad couldn't have done on his own if he was writing the script. Maybe Mr. Bush is a double agent for Tehran. Now, we need, however, to recognize, because this is important, why everyone here should vote for BJ and oust Mr. Price from office, because Mr. Price deserves to be impeached for violating his oath. The Founding Fathers said the reason why only Congress can initiate war is because the executive has an incentive to lie and deceive to get into war. Because war means more power for the president, more secrecy, more money, more appointments, more glory. That is what they understood, and it is true of every single president. Every single president. The only one who resisted really was George Washington, but he was precocious and a prodigy, and we can't count on him occupying the White House. Look at the current occupant. It's enough to disprove Darwin's theory of evolution when you go from Washington to Bush. But the lies are not unique to Bush and Cheney. It began in 1846 with the Mexican-American War. James Pope said, if we don't attack Mexico, soon the British will have their monarchy there, or the French will take their empire to Mexico. We'll have balance of power politics, all of it lies in order to justify an invasion and the war. And this is something that was recognized by Ulysses S. Grant. He was not someone who was a pacifist. Read Ulysses Grant's war memoirs, authored after he had been president twice, and his description of the Mexican-American War as perhaps the most unjust in the annals of the Western Hemisphere. And how he explained, if once you're against war, everyone will call you a traitor, because all the frenzy that comes about with the patriotism, the intoxicating effect of thinking you're going to kill somebody. Remember when we read about the Iliad, who gets the heroism? It's Achilles and Hector, because they fight. Nestor's the wise man preaches restraint. Who remembers Nestor's? No. And that's why we end up with these wars. But the main thing to remember from Adam is, why are we in Iraq? It's because Congress abdicated its responsibility, saying, Mr. President, you go in there on your own without our authorization, we will impeach you. And that is what we need candidates for Congress to say. If I'm elected, I will impeach any president initiates warfare in Iran, North Korea, elsewhere without our express approval. I will be on the House floor and call for an impeachment resolution within 30 seconds. If you keep information secret from the American people, from us, that we need to oversee and know what you're doing, you will be impeached. Now that is that spirit that is so lacking. I'm in Congress 3 or 4 days every week, and it is squalid to see the effeteness of the institution. We can't do that. We're being accused of being weak on terrorism, weak on this. Well, explain. No. What you understand is that the Constitution says the endeavor that you're about to undertake is to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. As John Quincy Adams said, yes, we could be dictators of the world, but we would destroy our republic in the process. It's exactly what has happened. Because with war comes the encroachments on civil liberties, comes the excess of power, the delegation of power to the president, this idea that you should never question. And Congress has voluntarily surrendered to the president our Republican form of government. And this is what cannot be tolerated anymore if we wish to avoid the fate of Rome. Now repeat, as I've said on many occasions, the observation of Roman historian Tacitus says, the Roman Republic degenerated into the Roman Empire. The worst crimes were dared by few, practiced by many, and tolerated by all. Well, it's not going to be tolerated by all the people sitting in this forum here today, and BJ is the one that can lead the charge. Thank you.